reformed Labour Party is challenging the IEC's candidate deadline in court tomorrow. For more on its bid to extend the deadline, we are joined now by the Labour Party Secretary, Krister Janse from Rensburg. Krister, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Newly formed, newly registered as well. I think you only got your registration certificate on Tuesday. Why do you want to extend the deadline?
You know, in our case, yes, I've heard what Musi says, and we actually had a good engagement with him as well. Our case is slightly different. For us, the issue is not about the regulations themselves, but more about the time frames and also the administrative burden. You'll see behind me are all our friends of the Labour Party volunteers who are sitting here and helping us to enter the 61,000 signatures that we have to enter. Luckily, one of the founding members of this Labour Party is AMCU, the trade union. So we could, to some extent, utilize the kind-hearted volunteers of the regional offices of AMCU to assist.
Yeah.
But I actually think of all the small parties, the startups, I think it would be impossible for them.
Yeah.
And that's why we'll be in court tomorrow.
So the IEC says the portal itself has been available since June last year. The thresholds and the requirements have been a part of the scheme at least since June last year. There was a challenge around the independent candidates threshold that was reduced by the courts. The new parties also went and tried to take that up with the courts, but the court said not at this time. And so you've had since June last year for the administrative processes to have been fulfilled.
Remember, it's slightly different in the sense that the administrative process itself was not clear to anybody. To ourselves, for instance, and around 11, 12 parties that attended with us on Thursday, the 29th, was the first time we were ever told about this online portal. And more importantly, that not only do we have to give a number of signatures, which you can argue is fair, but that we have to enter it ourselves on an online portal. If you make the calculation yourself, how long will it take you to enter a 13-digit ID number onto a computer? I would dare to say at least half a minute. So let's calculate. Half a minute, so it means 1 minute for 2 signatures. Let's divide 65,000 by 2. You can take your calculator, make the sums. We did. It would be several working days to enter all those numbers. We feel it is unnecessarily cumbersome, and it limits and it puts barriers to the democracy in this country.
Yeah. They would argue that more than the announcement of the timetable, right? The requirement has always been a part of the scheme. So maybe more than the timetable, it's actually the voter education or even the education to the new political parties on what those requirements would have been. Maybe should have been a little bit more robust as of the time when that scheme was introduced last year.
I think so, but also one must look, I don't know if you're familiar with the term administrative injustice. Administrative injustice is when a body or an organization, or a government for that matter, that has power that exceeds the users of a system, that design a system that is basically impossible administratively to comply with. This is basically impossible. I'm telling you, we are battling. We are battling to enter the numbers. We're trying our best.
Yes.
We are positive we'll probably burn the midnight oil again tonight.
Yes.
But we feel it's unreasonable. And what's more unreasonable, as Musi Maimane said, is why aren't there other parties who are in Parliament currently there to get 65,000 signatures? I'm telling you now, many of them won't.
Mm-hmm. How do you then convince the courts that it's impossible when other parties have done it? Musi has not only put in 65,000, he's doubled that number.
Yeah, no, Musi has done that. I hear you. Even though Musi's party has been in the game for very long, the way that Musi has done it, yes. And even Musi tried to challenge it, Bursa. We were quite supportive of their challenge, even though their challenge went to the Constitutional Court. Our angle is different. Our angle is about the time frame specifically. And we are attacking that. And all we want reasonably saying is we want another week, maybe 2 weeks, to be able to garner and show the support that we have, because we have a massive support as the Labour Party.
Massive support as a Labour Party. What do you think your electoral politics are going to result in?
Our electoral politics has a very fresh breath of air in South Africa. It's not identity politics, for one. It's based on a non-racial, economically and socially focused policy framework. We are excited about the possibilities of a post-revolutionary South Africa. We believe this period of speaking about apartheid all the time, finding ways to racially divide us, finding ways to divide us as a class, as workers, as we stand, as trade unions, undermining job creation, exporting of jobs. All of those things need to be addressed in the new South Africa. We failed to do that, let's be honest. We took over a functional state, as our president was saying. What happened now? What happened in the past years? We've lost this functional state. We were not able to do it. This state is not functional at all anymore. You can just drive around Joburg. Potholes, the water is not working, the electricity is not working. We need to fix this country. Many of the political parties even have that as their slogans. Ours is different. We focus on work. You would see our slogan, you probably saw, our slogan is the power is in your hands.
Right.
And it has a double meaning. Firstly, it's in your hands because it lies in work. We must all work together. Secondly, it's in your hands because you must vote right. You must come and vote for us to be in power.
Why not AMCU Party? Why Labour Party? I mean, would AMCU Party not gain more traction? People already know that name, more identifiable.
You know, luckily, and I say luckily in a very circumspect manner, luckily our leadership had the vision to understand that this is not about AMCU per se. AMCU is a trade union. If one would have an AMCU party only, one would be single-minded to a certain extent. We want several like-minded organizations to rally around shared values and shared ethos. A very big part of what we say is we want equality. Equality is key for us. Specifically a focus on the youth, focus on youth structures. A big part of our constitution deals with what we call labor youth. We envisage a big student movement coming out of labor like we see in other countries, where there's always also labor parties. And we believe that what we do and how we will do it will draw much more people than merely unionists and people who are members of unions.
Krister, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on.